You don't know what my emotions say.
I don't want to hear about your emotions.
No, you don't want
I
to
don't
know.
want Like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Dominic, how are you
great.
feeling right now? You don't want
Always
that?
great. Yeah, no, don't want to know.
Okay.
You saw the Ricky Bobby, right? Just bury it down deep inside and don't let it come up.
Yeah, don't. That's what I needed. Sorry. Anyways, now we're just going to laugh at the beginning of our show. Anyways, welcome everyone to the Late Night Restaurant Show. Dominic is back from let's say you're on a vacation.
I went on a bit of a vacation. I went to Florida.
You've been fucking around all these different cities too.
Yeah, I went to San Diego. I had a great time in San Diego. Then I went to Thunder Bay.
You were in Florida.
I was in Florida, Toronto, San Diego, Thunder Bay.
Well, yeah. I'm glad you're back. Because it was starting to get a little weird making fun of you without you in the room. So.
Yeah, and my name's even went out of the title now, so fuck, I know I've been gone too long.
No, it's not. My name is gone. Well, your name's on my fucking shirt, so shush. I walked around Chicago with your name on my back, so just so you know, mine was in red. You can read mine if you.
Did you ever get asked, "Hey Dominic, hey Dominic, hey Dominic"?
No, I didn't. No. Anyways, we have a great guest, Todd. He is, I tell you, the king of seafood, and also he has a show. Well, I call him the king of seafood. I don't know. He's the Kings of Fish show that he has. I think this guy is. I think he's part of our family somehow, Dominic. Yeah, he's like us. Yeah.
Nice.
I wouldn't mess with this guy.
He looked pretty. He looked pretty jacked. He's not short and fat like me, is he?
No, he'd take you out. Take you out. He'd bury you with the fishes. I think he would. Anyways,
I gotta tell him right off the bat, I can't swim. I don't want to be with any fish. I like eating them.
We're flatlanders, so don't mess with us. Anyways, I'm getting shit. Anyways, I got Sean texting me from California. Well, we have a great show, so everyone that's watching this or listening to this later on tonight, or if you listen to this, by the way, Dominic, we haven't said this in a long time, but this is not a flippin' podcast.
Yeah, it's not a podcast. I know, Jay.
I'm going to try to use the word flippin' because I was thinking fish.
Oh, yeah.
No?
I think it's not a fucking podcast. I'm confused.
I can't say that.
Can't say.
We have potential sponsors coming, so we have to be good. Now, we're losing our guest in the green room, so we better hurry up. Anyways, I had a great show yesterday. If you had a chance, we had the sous chef on from the Oilers. That was incredible.
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty incredible. She was amazing. Anyways, we're going to be having all these shows up over the weekend. We're going to 19. Do we have 19 shows in the can?
Wow.
That's what podcasters say.
No,
you don't care.
No, I believe you. I didn't know they were in the can. 19. Yeah.
You should see. You're like younger. Yep. You're younger 19 shows ago. Anyways, let's get started. We'll be right back after this, folks, with the Kings of Fish. Michael, here we go. There you go.
Welcome, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Glad to be here.
You know what? I have to say thank you for taking the time because you must be a busy guy.
I try to take Fridays off to hang out with my wife.
Really?
I'm just going to leave it at that. But here I am.
Work for us, Dominic.
Because I love you guys.
She's going to be mad at us now. Like, it's the last thing we need.
You know, when I told her I was doing some stuff on LinkedIn, I was doing this thing with cigars. She goes, well, LinkedIn? Was that like a bunch of... She didn't know what it was. So she assumed like, A bunch of freaks and losers. I don't understand. And I'm like, never mind, honey. I love you because she's awesome, and I do. My wife is incredible. We go out to dinner. We go out to dinner 2 nights later with her best friend and husband. And the husband comes up to me and goes, "I saw what you did on LinkedIn. It was incredible." I go, but she said it was freaks and losers.
Well,
next night, other best friends, same thing.
Yeah, we send our thanks to your wife. Tell her thank you for giving you to us for. This is only 2.5 hours. I don't know. Hopefully, you won't miss your dinner.
I think she's already tucked in watching Law and Order. It's all good. We're fine.
We could do Law and Order too. That's
Thanks
awesome.
For joining us.
Dominic, you take the wheel. You've been gone for so long.
Well, I got
rusty.
So well, you said you met Michael in Chicago, I think.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
we did.
Michael, you told me already, but tell our listeners to this non-podcast podcast where
not a podcast, by the way, Michael. Don't think it's a podcast.
Not a
it's
podcast.
Not a flipping podcast. No, not at all.
It
hangs with other podcasts.
For the love of God. What would you like to know?
Where are you at today?
Origin story?
No, where
am I at today?
Physically, where are you at?
Right now, physically, I am in our one of our restaurant locations. We have 2 that are waterfront locations currently. This one is on Alamitos Bay, Long Beach.
Cool.
You kind of see behind me. You can see a little bit of the marina. See if I can give you a little bit of an example. See, it's a beautiful view. And some of the best sunsets in Southern California happen right here. And this time of the year is a great time for it too. So excited to share that with you guys if we're still on when it goes down.
Yeah. And now tell us about you.
About me. So I'm Italian. My name is Mike.
Yeah.
I've been
so am I.
I've been all right. I had a feeling.
Well, Jay
probably the haircut, right?
We won't let you in the club.
So I am married to Anita. I think we're going to be on 28 years in December. We have 3 children, 3 daughters. Yeah, 3 daughters. My oldest lives in New York, works for an agency. Middle one is a voiceover actress. She lives in the LA area. And my youngest, she's turned 20. She's a professional dancer. I didn't think, that pursuing the arts that they were ever going to move out, but they pulled it off, man, and kicked ass and proved me wrong. And I love it. I've been my family. I work for my family. I'm 3rd generation. My grandfather started our business back in 1956. It was a 200 square foot seafood shop selling to the locals in the LA waterfront. The area, it was called San Pedro. It was mostly fishing community, a lot of Italian, Greek, Croatian, it's Japanese too. And my dad and his best friend, when they opened it, were 15 years old. My grandfather, as the story goes, we find out later, was actually a bookie. It was opened more as a front. It was just told my dad and his best friend, I'll tell you, and I don't know that they knew all this, but they're like, listen, you guys are 15. If you want to go to college, I'll pay for it. If you want to work, you can work. And they're like, well, we don't really like school. So they worked, and they stayed there and they worked, and they built it from this 200 square foot location in 1956 until about 2 years ago. It was 55,000 square feet, 3,000 seats, serving about 2 million customers a year, drawing in more people on the Western Seaboard than anybody except non-subsidized. Only SeaWorld beat us out.
Wow.
And,
wow.
So I thought, that's a pretty cool story, right?
3,000 seats.
3,000 seats, all seafood. Well, 99% seafood.
Wow.
We were selling more.
That's a big
in our height,
man.
Yeah, in our height, we were doing more Modelo than Angel Stadium. So we decided there's some really cool stories here. People don't know the stories. And as social media and some of the review sites started coming up like Google and Yelp and whatnot, as I would read what people were writing about us, I realized they had no idea who we were. They didn't know our story outside of our little hometown. And we were drawing people in from all over the country at this time. So as I was reading, people and our customer base would change, right? For a long time, it was American, Croatian. For a while, it was Vietnamese, Filipino, Samoan. And then in the 80s forward, it became predominantly Mexican-American, mostly like Latino. So what I would notice in this reviews was people would say, oh, it's like that Black Market, which is a kind of a seafood swap meet in Mexico and Ensenada. I'm like, oh my God, people have no idea who we are, what we're doing. We're head down, butt up. We're taking care of everybody. We're listening to customers. We're giving them what they want, but they didn't know who we were. So I had the idea that we should start using social media to tell our story. And we had been on TV a few times for different shows. And I hired one of the production companies to do our history video. And I go, that was really cool. And it just sort of evolved to the point where we were also doing this lobster festival every year. And it was the Port of Los Angeles International Lobster Fest. We didn't produce it, but we did take on the risk of doing all the lobsters. And over the years, I think we did it for about 20 years. We stopped a few years ago because it was just too much. But on the time we were doing that, we were getting close to serving. We built a cooker that could do 2,000 pounds of lobsters an hour. So we called Guinness. We called Guinness to say, hey, you should come and see what we're doing. We think there's no record for lobsters like this. And long story short, we ended up setting 4 Guinness World Records for serving lobsters out of this cooker. And a film company heard we were doing it, and they came and they filmed the whole thing and said, we think we could shop this around as a sizzle reel for a series about your family because you guys are all naturals in front of the camera. And they put this whole piece together, and they shopped it all over the place. And it was sort of like, if you saw this version of it, it was a lot like Duck Dynasty, but with fish. But the problem was Duck Dynasty got in a little bit of trouble that particular year. And so I don't think anyone wanted to touch it. So they gave it to us to use as a courtesy. Like, you guys can have this if you want. And I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? I think we could build off this. So ultimately, we just built our own production team and we started filming ourselves doing different things. And we created these story arcs. And we saw this huge boost in our sales as a result of telling the story. Wow. But it gave us the opportunity to tell our story, which wasn't being done before. And the rest, now you'll find, fast forward a few years, it grew. And we now have a sponsor through Pepsi. And the new season isn't just 5-minute, like small mini episodes. It's actually a full television series. There's 8 episodes. They're 20 minutes each. They're all done. And they're uploaded to Amazon Prime, and they're going to be premiering in I think the first week of August. We're still trying to confirm.
Wow!
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
That's what we're doing.
Good for you.
I'm excited about it. Like, I'm proud of it. To see how it developed.
When I look at the website, San Pedro Fish, is that your dad?
I don't know which one you're seeing.
Sorry.
My dad. Can
1956?
I don't know. San Pedro Fish, King of Fish.
Is my dad passed away 24 years ago. I don't know if he's in some of the pictures, but they're older pictures.
No,
so you might be seeing Tommy Senior, who was one of the founders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's 81, but he doesn't look it. He's still working every day.
And your wife, I'm assuming, is beside you in the picture with the brunette hair.
That's my sister.
That's your sister.
My wife doesn't. My wife's in some of the episodes, but she tries to hide from the camera.
Okay.
So
really,
the main people are Tommy Senior, who founded the company. His son was in all the early episodes. Tommy Junior, my brother John, my brother Henry, and then our youngest sister Jennifer. Those are the main characters. Okay. Tommy Jr. Passed away, actually, sadly. Both he and his sister had COVID, and we lost both of them. It was terrible.
Wow. Okay.
So we weren't going to do any more episodes after that, but Pepsi came to us, so we met as a family. We're like, okay, I know it's just not the same, because Junior was like the comedic relief for the whole. He was like the personality behind the whole thing. And so our producer, who's become a good friend, and we've sort of partnered with him on this, he goes, this would be an opportunity to memorialize him and give him kind of a send-off and let people know who he was. So this whole season, in the background, there's a lot of shout-outs to his finest moments, and, we miss you. And
cool.
So it actually gave us an opportunity to do that. And I'm actually really proud of it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Michael, if I can ask, they started as a fish market selling fish, but they weren't doing restaurant.
Cool.
When
we're
did
terrible.
it become a restaurant?
I'd say we're pretty terrible at the restaurant part, actually.
You can't be at 3,000 seats. Jeez.
Well,
something's right. Either it's
I was
really
going to say, I think something's right.
People come for free.
We made it work. Are you guys familiar with specialty restaurants? Like there would be like Rusty Pelican would be an example of one of their locations, maybe.
Mm.
So one of their original locations was the Ports of Call restaurant, which opened right next to us about 2 years after we took over the location on the waterfront. We moved out of the 200 square foot space. We moved down to the waterfront in LA, and we were running a place called Norm's Landing. And the reason I speak this is over the course of 40, 50, 60 years, they've opened restaurants all over the country. And we fought for this little postage stamp, and we grew it. We did some amazing things with it. But we never were good at running anything outside. Like we owned 2 restaurants next door to each other at one point. And that's when you talk 3,000 seats, these places were connected. They were the same concept with different names, but we needed the space. So we absorbed it. 3,000 seats, 55,000 square feet were these 2 restaurants. And nobody knew what was going on at the restaurant next door. Like we'd go over the numbers and go, how come they're not profitable like we are? I don't know. They're over there. We're over here. And I'm like, how did this guy next door open restaurants all over the country and we don't know what's going on 10 feet away? And so when we opened this location that I am in, it's 10 miles away. And we thought, I think we figured this out. We know what we're doing. We're growing. We got more customers. We're opening, we got so busy that we would just say, you know what, we can't. To give you an example of how busy we were, we started to be able to track where our customers were coming from credit card data as well as social media and polling, right? And we said, gosh, we've got a 100-mile draw. And we have a huge amount of people coming from Phoenix and from Arizona. That's a 6-hour round trip, and they're going home the same day. I'm sorry, 6 hours one way. 6 hours one way, and they're going home the same day.
What?
Yeah, so we're like, okay, we're not a restaurant anymore. We're a tourist attraction. And so what my brother would do, he's really more on the operations side at the time. He would say, you know what, we have this little area. I think I can convert it into a kitchen because people are driving all these hours. They can't find parking. They're walking a mile from a satellite parking lot and strollers and wheelchairs and whatever and walkers. And then they're standing in line to get in the building for an hour, because we didn't have space. We're packed. And people don't get up and turn tables after they've driven that far. So it takes time to turn the tables. Then they get in, and we weren't organized like a restaurant. What we had done was you could go to the fresh case and pick out any seafood you want. We're going to give it back to you. Walk it over to that kitchen, tell them how you want to cook. They'll give you a pager. By the way, the bar is over there. If you want calamari, it's over there. If you want crab, it's over there. We had the customer had to do a lot of work to get their food. So hour drive, hour walk, hour and a half to get in, now to an hour to get your food. So we're like, we got to open more locations. Like this is just getting out of control. So this location, which is another story, but we were able to acquire it. And it's our main location faces east, so you see the sunrise. This one faces west, so you can see the sun set, and they face each other 10 miles as the crow flies. Complete disaster. We had no idea what we were doing in here. We thought we'll just do the same thing. We'll get the big long tables. We'll put the slushy machines. We'll put a fish market. It'll just it'll do its own thing. We hired professionals from other restaurants to come in. They're like, "Where's the manuals? How's this place work? What are we supposed to do? What's your vision?" And he would get 6 different stories from 6 different family members until they'd quit. and then we opened, and 6 weeks later, we opened right before February 20th. I think we opened February 1st of 2020. So we only made it about 6 weeks, and then we had to pivot and figure out how do we do this through COVID. Now, that was a nightmare, right? So we had this downtime to reassess. Like, we made some mistakes. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. People are quitting. We've lost like 13 managers. I think we need to step out. And so we brought in a different set of professionals, and I convinced the family to step aside and let these people run the business the way they needed it to. And we instituted some new practices. And we came out of COVID a lot stronger than we went in.
Oh, good for you.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was really hard because, family-owned businesses, everybody's an owner-operator, and they all have a different way of how they wanted to do it. And the story that would go around is one of our family members, who's Tommy Sr., sort of stepson, calls, basically his mom and Tommy have been together since he was a little boy. So I've known him my whole life, and we do a lot of work together, he and I, and he's great. And he tells a story about working on our lobster. We had a live lobster crab section with steamers. And I had one brother went in and said, I want you to do all the lobsters like this and put them in there and cook them. And then Tommy comes in, who's, basically his dad, says, don't listen to him, do it my way, take them out and put them in this way. And the other brother came and told him a different way, and they just kept circling. He goes, well, I'm gonna pick Tommy because I'm having dinner with him tonight, and my mom. And so, it's like, that was the frustration, is you couldn't do anything right ever. And so when you tried to take that and duplicate it here, it just fell apart.
Mhm.
And the crowd here was just a different crowd. These were more restaurant people, a little more professional, a lot of college educated kids, because there's a Cal State Long Beach is down the street. So you had these kids that wanted to come in and they're going to school and they wanted to learn. They just wanted to follow a certain set of rules. Whereas our location in San Pedro was people that have been with us 10, 20 years. They were laborers or hard worker. They could deal with all that and they would work through it, but it's not scalable. And that's the mistake that we learned. That we've gotten
Does it
past.
still run the other way, the old way, and the old location runs the new way?
Because this is what happened. And now I didn't think we could ever change it, Dominic. I was like, I almost had given up. But then we got evicted.
Oh,
again. So in 1979,
you wonder why you got a TV show, eh?
So in 1979, the Portugal Village, when I was asking you about just specialty restaurants, decided they were going to expand their development. And what they had built, the Portugal Village, was like the first restaurant pirate to heat, sort of like a what do you call it? Like a Polynesian themed amusement park, right? You had Disney in Anaheim, and then they did this thing on the waterfront that went right up to our location. And then they said, we're going to go farther and you're in the way. So in 1980, we had to leave. Well, they built the rest of the village. But my grandfather had some friends in politics. They're like, you know what? If you want this space, you can have it. This is an interesting story. I'll tell you another different if there's time later. But the bottom line is we were able to build San Pedro Fish Market, and that village was built around us. Okay. And we flourished that way. That village is gone now. It's all of it got evicted. We lasted a few more years, but we had to leave too because they were redeveloping it again. So for 1 year in 1980, we operated out of a parking lot, out of kitchen trailers and, shrimp cocktails and smoked seafood and whatever we could do until for that 1 year, the family built from the ground up San Pedro Fish Market. And on a Good Friday in 1982, we opened.
Wow.
So now here we are. And we left Norm's Landing, worked out of a parking lot, and then built San Pedro Fish Market and exploded. I mean, it wasn't as easy as it sounds because that was the last time we had a really bad El Nino. So we opened a restaurant with 300 seats outside and it rained all summer. So we almost lost everything. Everyone mortgaged their homes, but we got through it, like hard work, dedication, innovation, we survived. So now you fast forward to 2022 and the Port of Los Angeles is redeveloping the area. They've hired a developer. We know them. We've been kind of dancing around with them for about 10 years, not sure what was going to happen. And the port finally said, listen, you got to go. They got to build this boardwalk. They're building these buildings. You're in the way. So sorry, it's over. It's a good run. God bless. Peace out. So we're like, okay. Well, there's only 2 other restaurants in the entire country that are independently owned that generate more sales than us. Are you sure about this? Like, we need to find a way to stay open. So we were able to negotiate a deal to move into a parking lot 100 yards away inside the project, but it wasn't slated for any development for at least a year. Although that changed. And what we did was we rented, and we were thinking this might happen. So we'd already been talking to vendors and figuring this out. And in 60 days, we moved into this parking lot, 23,000 square foot parking lot with 2 32-foot kitchens on trailer kitchens, bathrooms. There's no water. There's no utilities. So we had to basically do a pop-up that could serve these customers. And we were able to get about 1,000 seats in there. And we had a run rate of about $15 to $16 million out of this parking lot. And we've been there since. We're still trying to move into a more semi-temporary location. It's just a challenge with the bureaucracy, but customers are still showing up. We actually had to move again in January. That only took 3 days. They just picked everything up and moved it to another parking lot to get out of the way.
Yeah, the government part makes me mad, Gino. I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but just I'm not.
Michael, you said the G. We're not supposed to say that. Here we go. Dominic, it's funny.
Shut up for a second. Listen.
Just wait a second. I'm going to tell Michael this because I texted you last. Just look at he's all excited. He's fired up.
I feel for you.
So we post a thing the other day on TikTok, and it's him barking about the government, and it goes viral.
Oh no!
It's just I do 1,500 shows. Don't go viral.
Because everybody understands the government's full of shit. They have no idea what the fuck's going on. Right?
I'm not against
a lot of times. I'm not. The government in LA could go pound sand as far as I'm concerned, because they're kind of all the same. They have no idea how, their income is your tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
And because there's, I don't know how big LA is, 2 or 3 million.
Well, it's
people.
bigger than Canada, isn't it?
Pretty big.
Yeah, that well, the cool
you
thing
know,
is you've survived and you've kept growing through that, and kind of the what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? You know how to deal with a lot of these things.
I think one of the philosophies there's a couple of philosophies I'll share with you guys. One is we always try to see ourselves more like a seafood diplomat and not take sides, because once you take a side, 50% is against you, and it wasn't worth it for us to do that. There were a lot of people that offered, hey, we'll protest and we'll show up and we'll chain ourselves to the fence and all that stuff. I go, that might get us a couple months, but then we've ruined a relationship. So we have to figure out how to move with this, and we don't want to have enemies. It doesn't serve us. And my grandfather, one of the things that we came up with, and I kind of built off one of my grandfather's philosophies with this, was we came up with what are the core values of our business. One of them is family. And the way that we hold it is, make sure, always treat your employees like family. Make sure your customers feel like family, but it's your community that's most important because it is your family. And so the more that we built off that, the more we realized, we don't want to be in a fight. Fighting in business is expensive, and you can't always win. And when you win, you made an enemy of someone that you never know when they're going to come back. So the seafood diplomat philosophy is really what we've tried to adopt, and just we're a good neighbor. We do the best we can, and it's it's served us. But it's hard. We all took massive pay cuts. We had a lot of people. Everybody was able to find a job that wanted a job. The city worked with us because nobody wanted to be the bad guy that put all these people out of work. We went from like 400 employees to, I think right now we're about 250. But there's no shortage of jobs in the industry. So it wasn't like there wasn't other jobs to do. But it's just like it. And you know what? When it's done, the phoenix that's going to rise out of the ashes on this is going to be freaking stoppable. Like awesome. What we're setting up. So to answer your question back, I'm sorry, your original question was around operations. Are we still doing things the same way? When the eviction happened, we had 60 days to figure out how do we make this work out of a parking lot. And my nephew was doing all of our IT at the time, and he had been talking to Toast. We put it in the other locations, but we couldn't figure out how to put it into our main one. So we can get Toast in here now. And the thing was we figured we're going to have to do a QR code system from the tables and run the food from these portable kitchens because there wasn't another way we could come up with. At the time, Toast couldn't do 1,000 seats. But they worked with a company called Me and You. So between the two of them, we tested it. And the first day we opened, our COO came in, and our COO is from Del Frisco's and with Chris and King's Fish House, and he was a professional ball player. He's a real team player. He goes, "We're going to break this thing today." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We're going to break it. I need to break it before we get to the holidays because it's Cinco de Mayo, and we're going to get into Mother's Day and Memorial Day. So we're letting everybody in on that line." And I can't. I go, "I'm leaving. I'll be back in a couple hours." I can't handle that kind of stress. I got their office up the street. I got work to do. I came back and it was completely shut down. It broke. They shut it down and let everyone go home. But it taught us what worked and what didn't. And so over time, we were able to refine that. So by the time we got into the holiday seasons last year, we were able to be like a fine oiled machine. So instead of people having to wait in all these lines to get their food, they came in, they sat down. We're running beers to them. We're running micheladas to them. We're running seafood trays to them. We're like, this is incredible. And I'm still on the water. And it's the same tables I had before. So we were able to pivot the entire business into a tech-based way of doing things that was lower cost, lower labor. And the plus was because it's Toast, the runners are, they're getting massive gratuity, right? They're getting 2, 3, 4. Like my nephew went to work one day and needed gas money. He went home with $400 in tips.
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. And he goes, so we're not having the turnover issues most restaurants are having because of the volume we're doing. The food runners who aren't even waiters or waitresses, they're just running food. They're not taking orders. They're doing so much in gratuity through the Toast system that we're actually getting more employees than we can handle. So it's actually worked out for us in a weird way.
That's awesome.
Even with the $20 minimum wage they threw down our throats here in California, we're still like, well, we're already paying more than that. So
that's happening in BC. BC's getting that June 1st.
17
tomorrow.
Something.
Yeah, it's going up a
really?
buck. Yeah. It's still lower than you guys, I think. Michael, well, also the exchange rate.
The exchange rate, yeah.
It's ugly.
So I think, the philosophy was, we can go home and bitch and complain and throw things against the wall, but the bottom line is there's certain things we can't change, so we've got to figure out how to innovate around them. The same way we do with the pandemic. What can we do to survive? We're smart. We've been here a long time. We got a good team. We've got a lot of people that are willing to try and not give up, and we have a lot of soldiers that have been with us a long time. It's like, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And
nice.
What we've done with them now is like we appreciate that and we love you for it. But now what I've been doing is we instituted 2 different systems. One's the entrepreneur operating system, and that really helped us organize the business and show ownership. It's like better owners are over here, and if you walk in, you're an employee and you do what the manager tells you to do, and you just got to be that way, because otherwise nobody knows. You get the lobster issue that we had before. So we did that, and then I have a good friend. His name's Ron, and Ron invented a system for. He calls it like simplest ways. It's basically helping people be to be more self-accountable and create self-led teams, so they don't need to be micromanaged. And it's an 18-week program, and we tested it, and people liked it. I'm like, okay, let's test. And this was during COVID. We did the test before the eviction during COVID, and they would say, hey, we have a whole bunch of people that went through this 18-week program. I go, you're kidding? Who? I'm like, who? These are guys that worked for me forever. And I had the assessment that they were happy doing the job they had, and they were never going to change. And I wasn't really I love them. They're friends, but I wasn't focused on coaching them. They go through this 18-week program. Not only did they go through the 18-week program, they turned around and led an 18-week program. Wow. With other employees. Mm-hmm. So I go, I got to see. So at the end of the 18-week, we're having a completion celebration dinner. You should go. You're the CEO. Oh, I'd love to go. I go and I sit there and I listen to them sharing these stories of how this 18 weeks didn't just change their life at work. It saved their marriage. It saved their relationship with their kids. They realized that I'm being a jackass at home and in the kitchen, and I really should be leading teams and believing in my teams. And, and a lot of it, it's funny, just by coincidence, it mirrors a lot of, like, if you ever watch Ted Lasso, it's the same stuff Ted Lasso is doing with the team. It's like, I believe in you guys. I'm here for you. And it's not ever, he never beats anybody up. He's always like positive.
It's very cool.
This whole system was like
that. Encouraging people to look within to their staff, that they don't most restaurants wouldn't know the talent that's buried inside their system, that and to what you just said, what people's desires are either, right? Because we never venture to ask them usually, right? That's kind of where it starts. But I'm curious about the program. Have you rolled it out to everybody to be able to do it?
So I don't want to step over something you just said, but yes, it is. Be curious, like that great scene from Ted Lasso with the darts. Don't be be curious, not judgmental. Yeah. I use that all the time because we're so used to being, I judged this guy. He wasn't going to do anything. And we weren't being curious to ask them what matters to you, what's important to you, how can I help you? And really, it's just about asking questions and letting them get, I care about my family. I do want to do this. I do want to do that. So we had to put a hold on it after the eviction because we didn't know what was going to happen. So we recently revisited it. We've licensed the program from Ron's company. And what he's doing is he's teaching us how to teach it. So there's a whole coaching part of it. And our goal for this year is to have 50 people go through the system.
Nice.
And then after it's done, he has a couple of one he calls the arena call. And what that is it's just a way to get in the arena and practice it, right? Instead of being in the stands and just bitching and complaining, you got to get down on the field and play. And so the arena calls are a way to practice the system so you don't lose it every week.
Nice.
And then he has another one, I think he calls it alacrity, which is a way to just kind of strengthen and revisit and kind of get a little deeper. And there's a lot of biology and philosophy mixed in, but it's very simple stuff. And it's really just, there's no right or wrong. There's no homework. Nobody's grading you. It's just hang out, talk to people, practice this a little bit. And what happens is after a certain point, enough people do it, the culture tips. And it just becomes part of the culture. And people are doing these practices and these systems without even realizing they're doing it.
Yeah, we have a training company. That's why I'm curious about it. And I think we just found out about a future guest, Jay.
I happily introduce you. Yeah, Ron's a good guy. He's got his own podcast too.
Well, yeah, we want him on ours, and maybe he'll be gracious enough to invite us on his. But it's investing in your staff is never a bad thing, even if they leave, because they're gonna gain a skill and they're gonna go out and use that somewhere else. But if they learn something or they become better for themselves, your business gains, your guests gain, like your family, like all these gains happen, which is awesome. And a lot of, I think what a lot of companies fail to remember or think about, it doesn't always cost a lot of money to do it. Might cost a little bit of time, but you probably get that time back and efficiencies that are coming down the road, because just even probably people are being happier, right? If they were just a little bit happier, everything's going to go up. So it's very cool.
I'm seeing something you guys have probably seen, where when you do these things, people will say, "Hey, I'm going to go. I got this offer. I got to go check it out," and they come back going, "I'm never leaving you guys. It's terrible over there." They don't realize, like, one of the things that I learned from Ron, and you could look this up if you haven't already seen it, is when you ask people why they work where they work, money is like somewhere like 6th or 7th on the list.
Yeah,
you keep thinking you got to pay them more, but it's really ultimately they want to be valued, they want to be heard, they want to contribute. Like those 3 things are, if you can build that into your business model, you have people for life, and because you're being authentic at that point. It's a challenge. It's not like the way I was raised. I was just yelled at,
I think we all were.
You got the family part of it, and that's people want to belong too, right? So I'm Italian. I understand where you're coming from there, but if in a family, a lot of times, if you yell at somebody, but they know you love them still, Italians are very much like that. Like they can scream at each other, then kiss each other and hug each other, and and everything's hunky dory. And for some people looking from the outside, they just say, "How the hell can you do that?" And it's like, well, that's my sister. I love her, right? Well, you're just screaming at her she was screaming at you for the last 15 minutes. You guys look like you wanted to kill each other, but now you're best buddies, right?
My mom, God rest my mom's soul, man. My friends would come over and my mom would yell, like, "I'm going to break your face. I'm going to do that." And they thought she was joking. And she's not joking. Get off the couch for your own safety.
Did she throw the slipper, Michael?
I was going to say
she did not.
It had plastic on the couch.
I do remember that we had like a paddleball game or something, and my dad had hung it outside my brother's. They shared a room, out of my 2 brothers' room for a long time. Like I'd walk down the hall going, "What you guys do?"
Hilarious.
Awesome.
Where's at your restaurant, Jay? Sorry, I'll let you get one more.
No. You've been gone for a long time.
I want to know what's the number one seller at the restaurant. What's
I want to get into the food part.
Yeah,
you know what? I'll send it to you guys if you like. It's called the world famous shrimp tray. It's available on Goldbelly. So this is how it evolved. We reopened in 1982. It rained all summer. We almost lost everything. My uncle was an innovator, right? Tommy. And what he would do is he's like, I was at the Mexican food restaurant down the street. They got this thing called fajitas. You guys ever seen that? I think we could do that. We could do fajitas. We're doing all this smoked seafood. We'll just take that fish. It's already been frozen. It's not fresh. We'll cut it up. We'll put it on the grill. We'll make our own seasoning, Cajun spice. We'll make Old Bay, but better. We'll put it on the grill. We'll add bell peppers, tomatoes, onions. I'll get a team of people on the back. We'll buy the onions and stuff from downtown LA. We'll put them in a chopping machine. We'll throw it on the grill with the seasoning. You know what else we'll do? I got an idea. We got steamers in the crab tanks. We'll get red potatoes. We'll steam them. We'll run them in the cooler because we had a walk-in cooler that was big enough to drive a forklift through. It was huge. So we'll throw all these in there. We'll let them chill. We'll have a team cutting them into squares. We'll mix them in with the seasoning. We'll use the butter, oil, the veggies, the potatoes. There's we got a guy that's been baking forever in town. I'll have him do foot-long loaves of garlic bread. So over time, this thing evolved into this world famous shrimp tray is what we called it. And it was mostly shrimp, veggies, potatoes, shrimp fajitas with potatoes and garlic bread. And we could do tortillas. And we got to the point where we're doing 25,000 tortillas a weekend and I think 12 to 20,000 loaves of garlic bread. And so then we were like, we should just let people pick any seafood they want, because people keep asking to add stuff. So we'd have a whole fish section and they'd get a whole Mexican red snapper. They'd get a tilapia. They'd get, yellowtail, shark, baby octopus, scallops. They'd mix all this stuff in, lobsters, crab, king crab, salmon. And we bring it all to the kitchen and we just turn it into these giant trays. And it's all family style because when we started to have more and more of the Latino family base, what was happening is people were coming in going, I used to come here when I was a kid and now I've got my kids and my parents. And I even brought my grandparents. So you'd have our party size was 10 to 12 people. So we had these round tables for a long time. Mm-hmm. And my brother was really smart. He goes, I'm looking at these round tables. There's no corners. I go, so? And he goes, well, what's happening is you have families are taking they're taking 8 tables, but they're only sitting on 4 because they need a place to put the food and the beer. Says, I'm ditching them all when Tommy goes on vacation. Because Tommy got these for free. He won't let me get rid of them. So Tommy goes on vacation and he replaces them all with rectangular white picnic benches, which cost like $500 each. But he put them in there. And what happened was you now had more space for beer and food. So our sales went up.
Oh,
Wow.
brilliant.
Sales went up because you didn't have empty tables. Every seat was filled. The family could fit on the table, and you could have all these trays of fish and beer and oysters. And if the kids didn't want it, you had burgers and other stuff we did too. And I'm like, God, that's genius. We probably added 500 seats, and we were using more seats. And so our sales just kept going up. So the more I would do the marketing, because I was really on the marketing, I'd bring more and more people in, and he would figure out a way to build a kitchen, build a bar, add this, add that, and just transact more. So now as we're rebuilding, it's like, okay, we tested all these things. How do we make them efficient and effective now instead of just spreading them everywhere and making everyone stand in line? You know, the problem we would have with these bars, we realized people weren't drinking as much. We were selling more beer than anyone else, but people are like, I can only get 2 beers because the wait is an hour long. But with me and you and Toast, they can just keep ordering on their phone and we just keep running it. Yeah. So our sales are keeping pace even at a smaller size. And we think we could do a lot better as we grow.
What's the Krusty Krab? Is that you guys?
The Krusty Krab was the other location we absorbed that was next to us. That was part of the 3,000 seats. So San Pedro Fish and Krusty Krab. And we still own all the IP for that. We might roll that out. I don't know. We're debating on what to do there.
I love it. Now, Dominic, have you seen like what this looks like online? Like it's incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking at some pictures. Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's all gone now, but we're still doing the same thing, and we'll have a chance to fix it. I say fix it like build it the way that we would have done it if we knew how busy we were going to be in the beginning. So, and it's all going to be fish. So,
well, this is crazy. Now, is there different kinds of trays?
Michael? Yeah, you can. Like originally it was just shrimp or fish, but now we let people design their own. So if you go to goldbelly.com and you search for San Pedro Fish, you'll see the different options we put on there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like in this location here, we still have a fresh case. You could go downstairs and pick any combination of fish and we'll make it into a customized tray.
Really?
Yeah. And you have some customization that you could do through your smartphone on the QR code in our San Pedro location. It didn't stick as well here. It's hard to take a place that has like a wait service, steps of service with waiters and waitresses and tell them, yeah, we're going to have you scan QR codes now. They're it's very hard to transition to that. But moving forward, like, we're negotiating with the city of Monterey to open a location on their waterfront. We're looking at Anaheim. There's some opportunities in the city of Anaheim, kind of around the Disneyland area that we're looking at. I don't know if we're going to do those things, but what we're finding is when people found out we were evicted, everybody called us and said, we'd love to have you come over here. So nice. We're looking at options.
So Mike, I got to ask this question because first of all, this is just incredible. What's your secret? If you could package that up?
Yeah.
What's the secret to your success?
I think there's 2 things. Like I was talking to my uncle, like, how did you figure all this out? And he said something really interesting. And I know, Jay, if I mentioned this to you when I saw you in Chicago, and I can't remember, but he's like, in the 80s when I was trying to figure out what to do, I realized people weren't buying seafood and taking it home to cook anymore because you had McDonald's and Jack in the Box and you had all these drive-through fast food. So we had to figure out a way to sell them something they could either take home and eat that was cooked or cook on site. And I think that was the first thing he was reading how the culture in the world was changing. Instead of doing what he thought was best, he was listening to the customer. Over the years, as the demographics kept shifting, he was paying attention to this and he was talking to the customers. He was really listening to what they wanted. So in California, you can buy off the coast of California or Oregon, you can buy really beautiful, fresh rock cod or red snapper. And they stopped selling. And they were beautiful. And instead, what was selling was this frozen for 6 months Huachinango, which is a Mexican red snapper. That somebody like, I can't sell these things. Why don't you put them on the ice and see? And like, why are they buying that piece of crap fish? And he goes, oh, these people are from Mexico. And that's what they were looking for. So we need to find a supplier out of Mexico and replace the stuff from Oregon. And so he would do that. He would listen and he would shift and he would give the customers what they wanted. And those little things of listening to them and giving them, like, yes, give them a lot of bang for their buck. The reality is when Instagram listed us like 3 years in a row, they had listed the top 10 most Instagram restaurants. We were on that list 3 times. It was Cat's Deli, Cafe Du Monde, us, Perch, some donut places. I'm like, how did we get on this list? What was happening? It wasn't us. I wasn't doing anything with Instagram. The customers were geotagging themselves and sharing their pictures. And what they were sharing was this incredible mountain of seafood that their entire family was. So we created an experiential brand by accident, and we did it by listening to people, and we just kept doing more and more of it. Like he would do stuff like, you know what we should do? Add sausage to this tray. What the hell? Why? It's fish. All of a sudden, we're selling hundreds and hundreds of pounds of kielbasa every week, different kinds, and then bacon and back fat. I'm like, okay, just stop. Yeah, I can't keep up.
But Dominic, it's funny because we talk about these things, and we've had hundreds of restaurants and stuff on our show, and we've been coaching them and doing all these things. It's pretty simple if you just listen to your customers.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like
it's not rocket science.
When you ask this question every time, you're thinking about this spectacular sort of aha moment, and really it very often is exactly what Michael just said, or what your uncle said, is like, I'm listening. I'm kind of swallow your pride, I think, a little bit, right? That you don't necessarily always know best. We know people that are like that. Yeah.
There's a lot of operators like that, right?
He I don't like this. He said something else that threw me off too, and I didn't understand the genius of it till later. Groupon was big for a while, right? Groupon kept calling, and I said, Tommy, this Groupon, they want to do this coupon, and what had happened was we had these two locations right next to each other, 3,000 seats, and in our lease it said the port cannot rent space to anybody that's selling what we sell. So they had this whole thing was called the Asian Village right next to us. It was supposed to be tempura and sushi. They copied everything we did, and the port, our landlord, never enforced the lease, and we were actually okay with that because we can't handle what we have. So give them an alternative to go next door. It actually helps everybody because it helps the port police with the traffic. It helps the parking lot. We didn't mind, but when Groupon came over, he looked at me. He goes, "You know what? If people don't want us to pay full price, send them over there to the copycats." We only want people to pay full price. That's genius. I didn't think about that. Like send them to your competitors.
You were offering value. There was a reason they were coming, right?
Yes.
There's value, or there's perceived value, but there's incredible value.
And what he did that, so where we were in this big rectangle on the waterfront, the way everything was built, you didn't have access to water. All of our seating was on the water. So when you sat with us, you're on the water. We had mariachis playing. We had live entertainment, music all the time. We had a lot of beer. We created an atmosphere that was a celebration of food and of family. And the ones that copied us were trying to figure out how to do it, but they structurally were not designed to have the same experience. They're crammed into buildings. They had small space. They couldn't see the water because the developers and the rest of the waterfront were like, we're going to make a lot of money selling boat slips. And they're right. But the customers were looking at boats, not the water. And we didn't do that. So those things benefited us. It was always with the customer in mind and always with the experience.
Nice.
It's funny because I think a lot of people, well, we've been talking about it just recently on the whole experience thing. I was doing a little thing today with some guys I work with on the whole experience thing. And I saw a lot of that at the NRA show, at the National Restaurant Association show, of experiences like the barbecues, the different things that are out there, all these unique things to create those experiences. But you guys have been doing this since 1950. Is it 56? 1956?
Yeah, we the experience show part of it really started in like 1981, probably 82.
Well, that's a long time. But they weren't talking about that, Michael.
I was 11, 12 years old.
But that was not, that wasn't, well, here's the thing though. Let me go back here because back in the early 80s, I think we just called it something else. It was called just being hospitality, right? Yeah, we just call it hospitality, and then we've just adjusted over the times, and because that's when you came in there, and the chefs would come out of the back, or the owner would sit with you, or they would do something, or people are dancing in the restaurants, all these different things, right? Yeah. We were doing it, and now we're like trying to say you got to go back to all that. Well, yeah, because it worked back then.
It worked back then. And I think, I don't think you have a choice. If you're
you don't.
You've got to figure out to give people what you want, or you're just not going to make it. Everybody's got to figure out their niche.
Well, I think you have to figure that out, but I think you have to be like we've interviewed a lot of people, right, Dominic? We've had a lot of shows, and there's people that you can tell, like Michael, that's got that DNA though. It's got that DNA of we just want to be around you. We want to hear your story. We want to be but like it's true. You just want to be around. You want to hear I can see why you're on TV, but like you want to be around you and hear the stories, because there's this essence of caring also about your guests and they're about people.
Thank you.
Right, and I feel that
the weird irony of it is my dad was like, "Please go to college and don't get stuck here like I did." He would tell me this, and I'm like, "Well, I don't like it here. I don't like going home smelling like fish covered in blood and guts. It sucks." And what I realized is they were doing that to me on purpose so that I would go to college. And I did. My brothers didn't. They loved it. They stuck out there. And that was kind of became their social circle was inside the business and the employees. It's fine. It was great. They're much better operators than I am as a result. But I had this experience of working in banking, working in insurance, doing all these other things. And then learning business and studying and surrounding myself with other people like you guys, and like having conversations, I could come back in and go, you should go out there and talk to some of these people. There's a better way to do some of this stuff. And they're starting to catch on to that. Like, you're right. Like we went on the Food and Demand conference in Las Vegas. Have you been there?
Yeah.
No. So it's all about third-party delivery. So we went during COVID 2 years ago, and I made a request. I go, we're not walking the floor and looking for new devices or new whatever, no gimmicks. We're going to sit in classes and we're all going to learn, or don't go and take notes. And we're going to put them in a Google Doc. We're going to study them, and we're going to sit down and say, what can we take from this? Because it's COVID and we're shut down. We have to innovate. And everyone came back. My brother was there, a couple other employees. They're like, oh my God, I've never done that before. I learned so much. It's incredible. Like there's all this technology and these methods and people, and they're doing things. And I was like, right. So when we went to Chicago, it wasn't quite the same, but that was part of it. Like everybody goes with a purpose, figure out who you're going to talk to. What are you working on? You're building a new restaurant here. You're doing this part, you're doing tech. Go look for those things, come back and let's talk about it. And that conversation afterwards is really where you'll learn. You want to know why? You want me to give the biology lesson?
Yeah, I want to hear why.
We can hear it.
It's the 3 R's, but it's not the 3 R's you're thinking of. It's recurrence. Recurrence means you do something over and over. Yeah. It's reciprocation. That means you talk to someone about it. Hey, what did you learn? I read that. I learned this. And as a result of that reciprocation of talking back and forth, there's a biological phenomenon called recursion, where your nervous system actually changes and your knowledge deepens. Oh, so if you just try to read a book over and over, you can only get so far. But when you have the conversation like the three of us are having, you walk away learning something new, and it changes the way you see the world.
See, Dominic, that's why I call you all the time.
Yeah, listen. Every time I went to the National Restaurant Association show with Richard, Richard,
yep.
We did exactly that. Now we didn't know about the 3 R's, but that's how he kind of approached it. Hey, we're going with intent here. We want to see everything, of course, right? We want to see all the flashy stuff and get the chicken and all blah blah blah, right? The Chicago hot dog, but
oh my God!
But we're going with intent. And then when we got back, I was consultant to a restaurant guy, and when we got back, we would sit for days and days and days and talk about what we saw, what we needed, who was going to pursue what, and then come to some conclusion, right? Yeah. So it's I didn't know that there was.
It's going to apply for everything then. Or like
that's a biological phenomenon. Yeah, it's in a book.
It could apply for everything for sure.
It's in a book.
That's why I call you all the time, Dominic.
It's in a book that I don't recommend reading called The Tree of Knowledge, and it's a
textbook.
It's a textbook for South America for high school kids, and it took
Tree of Knowledge.
It took 2 years for me to learn it. It's so freaking complicated, but I had to have someone teach.
Really?
And then I found out years and years later, Apple uses it to teach their programmers. And I'm like, oh,
serious?
That's a hell of a book. Yeah, The Tree of Knowledge.
So
I'll
is it
send you a link if you want?
Yeah, please do. Please do. I think it's really cool. But I think all these things are important for business, right? Like I think these are the things. I want to go back to this because I think at restaurants, like we have a problem. Well, I don't know if in the United States yet, but definitely in Canada, we're starting to hear a lot of closures and things like this. And I think the problem is that people are scared. No, I wouldn't say scared. That's the wrong word. But they're not having the conversations anymore amongst their peers.
I think fear fundamentally is the problem.
Yeah, because there's conversations, right? Like you said, the three of us are chatting here. I tell you, get out. I got some events coming up that we're trying to do that because I think the more that you can talk You're not stealing ideas. I had one guy today tell me, he goes, well, they're going to steal ideas. No, they're not. We're done that. That was the 90s.
Is that an Italian thing, Dominic? By the way, because do you know Wahoo's Fish Taco? You guys familiar with Wahoo's Fish Taco? You don't have it there. Wahoo's Fish Taco is a Southern California phenomenon that's growing across the country, and one of the founders is a guy named Wing Lamb. Do we have time for a story? A quick story?
Yes, we got all night.
Okay. So I left my family's business and I opened my own restaurant and I lost everything. It was a fucking disaster. Like home, money, cars, and I had a 2-month-old. She was the youngest. And my wife's sick in bed, by the way. Not a good time in my life. Probably it was 20 years ago. And I heard on one of the news radios, it's like I think it was KFWB or one of the news radios. Come down to downtown LA at the Wells Fargo building. There's a free talk. And Wing Lamb was one of the speakers who owns Wahoo's Fish Taco, which was similar to the concept I left and tried to open. And there was like the guy from the 99-cent store and some other people. And I'm in there and I'm listening to two things happen. It's free, right? So I go to listen, but my intention was to meet Wing because I wanted to talk to him. And I listened to one speaker and I don't know who he was. I have no idea who he was. And he was a successful entrepreneur. He goes, you know what? Every book of a successful entrepreneur, when they write their own book, their biography, right in the middle, everyone has the same chapter and it's titled, "And Then I Lost Everything." Fuck, I think I'm in that chapter. I don't want to be in that chapter. And so that stuck with me. That was the one. The second thing was Wing was there. So everyone leaves. They got their Danish and their coffee and they went back to work. It was free. I'm like, these guys are all on the stage ready to answer questions. So I ran up to Wing. I go, hey, I don't know you. I'm in a similar business. I have no money to pay you for help. But if you can help me, I will be obligated to pay you back in the future, however you want. And I gave him my card and I followed up and he called me one day and he gave me so much great advice about marketing and PR and all this stuff.
Wow.
It was really helpful to me. And I never forgot it. And I go, again, I owe you. And about 10 years later, social media comes up, right? This is before Facebook. And I start following him on social media and I message him, hey, I'm the guy, remember me? And he goes, yeah, I remember you. I go, come to my restaurant. I want to treat you to lunch. I want you to meet my family. This is where I was going with Dominic.
Nice.
I want my whole family to meet this guy, Wing. He helped me. He's smart. He's got all these restaurants. He's doing shit we don't know how to do. None of them showed up.
Oh.
And I was just me and Wing, which is fine. You know, I talked to him, gave me a bunch of great advice and stuff. And I'm talking to my brother. I go, where were you guys? And he goes, oh, we don't want to be around that guy. He's just here to steal our ideas. This guy lives in Newport Beach. He's got a bunch of restaurants. And what's cool about Wing is what he did was these guys were surfers. And the story with Wing, and I might chop it up, so you'll have to find him and get him on here, by the way. He will be totally open to being on with you guys, by the way. Wing Lamb.
Oh.
Wing was a surfer. His dad had a Chinese food restaurant. They were from Brazil. They moved to America. They had Chinese, Brazilian kind of influences, right? And they loved to surf. And at the time, Stussy, Side Out, all these guys that became really big in the surfing industry, They would go do these contests, and all they had when they got out of the water was a soggy hot dog. So he goes, well, I know how to make fish tacos. So he started serving them fish tacos and he became friends with all these guys. And what he told me was, I use my brand to meet the people I want to meet. I'm friends with this athlete, this snowboard guy, this, and this. And he leveraged the brand of his restaurants to meet the people he wanted to meet. And then he leveraged it for PR by, working with them. Genius stuff. And so, he's a great story, and I think he's totally open to it. What he was basically telling me is, don't pay for the shirt, don't pay for the hat, don't pay for any of this stuff. Negotiate all that stuff, like Sean does, by the way.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand what he was saying at the time, But he was a great contact, and he was just here in this restaurant about I think in January, February, catching up.
Serious? How
Really
he's got like tons of locations. I'm looking online.
Mm-hmm. Very like I saw him on an American Express commercial. Like, how'd you do that? Yeah, I go, how did you do that? And he goes, well, we were trying to borrow money from them. And I might chop this up, so you'll have to get him on to straight the story. And he goes, and we just bartered with him. Put us on, and we'll do with you, and we get the PR, and you get the money. And he was just really good at negotiating deals with him. Yeah, I mean, he's excellent at it.
Yeah, and sometimes I think to what you just even said, and all of that, and what you did when you first met him, you never know until you ask. It's okay to ask. Right. It is, right? As long as you're respectful and you're not, demanding and forceful, and you do it respectfully. And a lot of people are willing to share. I don't think Italians are like, my family's not like that. we some of our best
It's
friends
good.
are our competitors. It's still in my family business in Thunder Bay. They have a bakery. We have a bakery. They're like this. They're good friends.
I had this story that my uncle told me, and I'll keep names out of it. And I understood what he meant after he told me the story. I go, oh, this is why you are the way you are. Is San Pedro was most of the seafood in the country was coming through San Pedro at one time. A lot of the tuna.
Oh, really?
Right?
Really?
Starkist tuna started in San Pedro.
Shut
For
up.
example. And those
Serious?
are Croatian guys. I actually went on a Croatian cruise because half the town's Croatian, half the town. Went on a Croatian cruise, and I said, oh, the Starkist family's from here. You know, all my friends knew these guys, right? But what they were, and I'm not throwing Starkist into this story, but just to give you an example of how big the seafood industry was in San Pedro, what they were good at was stabbing each other in the back. So at one point, my uncle had these relationships, and he was able to get down to, I think San Diego actually, because he had a favor if somebody owed him, and he goes, I owe you something. Come on down. I'm going to sell you all the tuna. And he cornered the tuna market. Like he went down with his friends and money, and he paid him, and they by hand unloaded tons and tons of tuna, and he set the price and cornered the market. And one of his mentors called him in, and he goes, "Man, I thought I was dead. I thought he was going to kill me." He walks in, "You screwed me. You screwed everybody down here." He goes, "That's the way you do it." And he told me that story. I go, "Oh, that's why you didn't show up when Wing was here." It's like you got trust issues because that's how you were taught. Now, if you back up a little bit, my dad and his three best friends that at 15 years old ran the business. Mm-hmm. One of them went to college. Only one of them, right? That I'm aware of, anyways. He went to college. He retired like 50 years old from a big pharmaceutical company as president of the company. Great guy. Love talking to him. And he goes, it's not that your family did anything good, bad, or wrong. It's just that they did the best they knew how to do. But I had the privilege of learning how to run finances and how to leverage income. And I knew like what they were doing was the old school way of just work really hard and put your money into real estate or whatever you're going to do. But they didn't understand how finances work because they didn't have the education background. You could have had like an empire across the entire country at that point, which is, I understand that a little better. So I'm like, well, it's not too late. But if you don't have trust, you assume every banker, every insurance person, every CPA, every vendor is trying to screw you. You sort of create them that way, and that's the frame you're looking through, and you don't trust anybody, especially a competing restaurant. So wasn't good or bad. It was just the way it worked for them.
That's the way it was.
But it's just not how I'm doing it now.
So, are your kids involved? Any of your kids? No, the three are all in the arts. Is anybody?
Well, my oldest daughter during COVID, she had to do college at home, so she was a host here, and she wrote a paper about how rude people were in the marina.
Serious? That's cool.
Because they didn't want to wear masks and they didn't want to follow the rules. So she stayed here with her mask on, and she's funny. She now works for a creative artist agency in New York. So no, she's probably not coming back. She's happy. Middle daughter is my essentially my executive assistant. She manages all my emails and stuff, and she's doing voiceover work for. Yeah, she's done voiceover work for like 3 or 4 different, I think mostly Netflix. Like it'll be a foreign language one, and we'll watch it. It's her voice in English if you turn on the English button. Nice. She's in the union. Cool. She gets paid for it, So I'm like, that's a great job. And my youngest hasn't worked for us yet. I don't anticipate she will. She's a professional dancer. She dropped out of school a year before COVID because she goes, I just want to dance. Everyone thought she was crazy. Oh, you're going to be homeschooled. No, she's doing it online. I don't have a teacher. Even though my wife's a teacher, she's not teaching her. And so what she did was she went to online school, and she just danced with like Beyonce's choreographer and Lady Gaga's choreographer.
No way.
Justin Timberlake's choreographer and Michael Jackson's former choreographer. She got all this experience, and now she graduated and she's represented, and she's a professional dancer. I mean, they really pulled shit off that I was just slinging fish at their age.
Do you ever think though that's somehow, they go through that because we all kind of leave the nest and then somehow it comes back.
Yeah.
Like they kind of are drawn back.
I left and came back, and they're always welcome to. I'm building a business to always be a place. My grandfather was like, I think he was kind of Depression era. So his thing was, this is always a place to work if you need to feed your family. Mm. But, what I'm trying to do is, yes, but you still have to come here to work. You can't, because the entitlement starts to get worse and worse each generation, where people are like, well, it's my last name. Where's my check? I'm like, we can't do that. Like, it just doesn't work. We're happy to give you a job, but you got to show up. You got to do your thing, and you got to be here. And that's hard because not everybody in the family understands that. They feel like, well, my dad died. I should be able to come here. My dad died too. I'm still here. You gotta put your time in. You gotta earn it.
How many staff you got, Michael, altogether?
Right now we're at 250. We'll probably be 300 in the next couple weeks because we're getting busy
for the summer. Do you ramp up through the summer too?
Yeah. We started ramping up as soon as Valentine's Day, like February, but it rained. It rained every weekend, so we couldn't. We're like something like $600,000 off our target because of all the rain. So it really hurt us.
You guys had floods, didn't you? Have floods down there
we had
too?
A lot of floods too. But when you're seeding, people in California don't leave when it rains, and especially if the seeding's outside, they're not coming down. They're no one's just sitting in the rain and eat anything. So and it doesn't happen very often, but it was pretty rough this year. Now it's beautiful weather, the sun's out, it's warm, so sales are coming back.
Nice.
Well, we have to wrap up because this has been incredible. So, Michael, what we want to do, I think you need to come to Canada. We need to bring Kings of Fish to come and do a tour of Canada. We'll put you in the prairies, the flatlands, the dirt.
Well,
no spotters.
Comes out alive.
Good seafood
exactly,
and we need it. And even Vancouver,
we do. We don't have Dominic. We say this every time we have a guest on.
We need it.
We could probably start a list of all the restaurants we talk to in the United States here in Canada, right? There's a list.
Do you have to be near the water to get good seafood? Like, what's the deal?
We have decided we're going to focus mostly for the next 2 years on waterfront, and then we're going to start moving inland.
Yeah,
like Phoenix and Arizona. I mean, we know we have huge customer. There's a restaurant and there's a guy that came to me years ago. He goes, "I'm going to open a restaurant in Las Vegas. I want to sell your shrimp trays. I know your business. Can I buy your seasoning? And I'll just put your name on the menu. Whatever, I don't care." My brothers went out there to check it out because he was buying 200-pound barrels of our seasoning every couple months.
Serious?
What's this guy doing? So my brothers and some of the employees went out there, walked in the restaurant, got a standing ovation from all the customers. So I'm like, I think we missed something here, guys.
Wow.
It was just one item on the menu. So
your item. Yeah, that's it.
It was ours. Yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it.
So we're looking to expand over slowly.
Let's open let's maybe we just stumbled on a business here. We should.
I know exactly. We'll just edit this out. No, it
just replace me with the shrimp tray.
Exactly. Well, I always go back to the time that Dominic.
What? It's only $60. It's only $60
for
the world famous shrimp tray.
Yeah, we could get it. I
wonder. Up in Canada, we double that up here.
Can you ship to Canada from Gold Belly? I've never tried. Do they have a restriction over the border?
I've never heard of it. No.
I don't know.
All right, I got to figure out a way to at least get you.
You don't have Gold Belly up here. I know, but
I should be
first of all, Michael.
Should be some spices or something.
So, anyways,
when you said better, can I just say something better than Old Bay? I don't like Old Bay, so if you made it better, it's got to be good if you're selling 200-pound barrels at a time.
Yeah, we sell a lot.
Yeah,
better
cool.
than Old Bay.
What about Amazon? Can you ship from Amazon? If you go to our Amazon store, a lot of the stuff's on Amazon.
No, we'll just buy a barrel.
I'm gonna order shit tonight. Oh yeah. We're bringing it up here. Anyways, let's wrap up. Yeah. The guys, Dominic, it's like we gotta wrap up, man.
Well,
she's watching the guys' time. We take our guests' time.
I have a meeting next door at the yacht club because I need some help.
Don't say that.
So I'm good.
Don't
it's fine. I've only been in there. I've actually never been in this yacht club. But the guy, did you see the video I sent you earlier, by the way?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to watch it? The guy I was on the boat with is like, "Can you come to the yacht club? We need a favor when you're next door. Their kitchen's getting rebuilt." I'm like, "No problem. They got a bar. I'll be right there."
Yeah. Thanks so much, Michael.
It's honestly, we want you in Canada. We need Kings of Fish in Canada. We really do. Like, I'm not shitting you, man. We do.
I'd love to.
I'd be embarrassed to bring you up here and let you see what we have. Like, wouldn't it be bad, Dom?
I think we could do it.
I think we could do it. So we just had a list. We should really start working on that. Sidekick. All these restaurants.
You know what? That's a cool concept. The best dish from 10 restaurants. The top dish.
Done.
So you got seafood. You got steak. You got.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a mess on the inventory at all. Yeah.
No.
No. You're a fucking mess.
365 just goes
Yes.
air code.
Yeah,
shuts down.
somebody ordering. Somebody just on the what is it called? Gold Belly.
Yeah.
Old belly.
Yeah. There's I think
It's
there's
only
5
gonna
flights
take a week.
There's 5 flights a day to LA from Calgary.
5 flights?
There's 2 flights a day to San Diego.
Why? Why is it so hard to get food to you guys? It's crazy.
Let's fix
Stupid
that.
government. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sure, here we go.
I set Dominic up for that. That was my fault.
I know you were going to slide that in. Well,
We don't have a big appreciation, especially in the prairies. We don't have a big appreciation for seafood, and I think it's just availability. Like people like seafood; they love seafood. We
love it though. We love it
Yeah,
though,
we
Dominic.
do.
We do love it.
A lot of our
I-
food comes through Cisco. I don't know if you knew that or not.
See, that's even better. Right?
Can't be that hard.
Do that, eh? I could be wearing my Cisco hat. I was going to say this, but here's the cool thing about, and I want to say this because we used to bring seafood in with Cisco, with our company, and we had a lot of fun with it. Like, it was incredible. We were bringing it in from Hawaii and different things, flying it in. And it was the whole thing on education.
Oh.
We don't have a lot of people that are educated in seafood in Alberta and the prairies. We don't. But the demand was through the roof.
You used to have an excellent fish guy.
We did. I think he went to BC. I think he went back to the ocean.
Yeah. He was excellent.
He was incredible.
Swallows? What was his name?
Don Solos.
Yeah. Wow, he was incredible.
Yeah,
I learned
was
so much from that guy.
He even looked, here's the creepy thing. He even looked like the Highliner guy. Like, I'm not shitting you. He looked like the Highliner guy. Like, he did, didn't he? Like,
he was from the East Coast, wasn't he?
I don't know. He was an incredible seafood guy. Incredible seafood guy. I had the most incredible seafood ever when he worked with us. It was just beautiful. But that's the whole thing, is the education thing. We just don't know anything about it. So we stay away from it, or we try and we beat it up. So anyways, we got to wrap up. Michael, I just want to thank you. You're incredible.
Thank you.
Your story's incredible. What you're doing is incredible. You're incredible. I'm grateful to know you and to get to meet you when I was in Chicago. And it's honestly all the best. And when we're going to be inviting you up here, I'm not shitting you. We're going to, you should come to the Stampede. That's what you got to do.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Yeah, we'll show you how to party.
It's a rodeo.
It's the world's largest rodeo.
Oh, really?
World's largest rodeo, yeah.
Really?
World's largest rodeo.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. We'll get you pregnant. We'll get you pregnant. We'll make you pregnant.
Wow. Okay.
Giving birth to like a little Canadian.
That's the time to stop the show, Jay.
There we go. That's a great way to lose our sponsors. There we go. Anyways.
That's it.
All right. Thanks so much to everyone else.
Michael,
you know what, Dominic? Yeah, thank you so much. As we wrap up here, Dominic, another great guest. See, I bat better when you're on the show, just so you know. Not saying that the other people I've had on the show.
All the other guests were wonderful. Thank you, other guests.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
It's so cool. What an awesome story. Eh?
Incredible story.
Like we said, and I'm glad he said, then I lost everything. That was kind of cool too to hear that. Like, not that it's fun, obviously, for anybody to go through that, but
no,
you come out of the other side of it stronger, right? It's always the case. The people the survivors, they just get better.
They do, cool. And then they become legends like he is, and then you get people asking you for a TV show, and then you keep training people. And I tell you, he's incredible. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
Glad you're back.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah. You gotta. You know what? I like your house.
Thanks.
You're doing good there. You're doing good.
I'm gonna have another room with the other piano in it. That one's white.
You're playing the piano tonight.
No, yeah, just for a little bit.
Friday night piano lessons or what?
No lessons.
No lessons.
I just play for fun. I wear a cool red robe when I do it.
That's fucking creepy, buddy. So just so you know. Anyways, thanks again. And to everyone else, have a great evening. And you know what? This is not a fucking podcast, Dominic.
No, take care.
No, not at all. Here we go.
Oh, we still got the British.